Two homers and a realist. It's the midweek pod before the big matchup against Maine. The Maine Black Bears are coming to town. Are the Sooners going to?
The Maine Blueberries.
The Maine Blueberries. That's right. Yeah. They went woke and they're all blueberries. Either way, I don't know, but I think the Sooners are going to dominate. I'm Steve.
Connor.
Lucas.
Jay.
And Michael Kiehn, he sends his regards. He's real excited about this matchup. He said that I don't think he was taking a shot, but he said this is a game for sure that OU could win. And so I don't know what he meant by that. But Michael Kiehn, great sponsor of the Midweek Pod, board-certified surgeon specializing in orthopedic sports medicine for over 20 years, been serving the greater Oklahoma City area along with Western Oklahoma. Not only does this include surgical skills in primarily the knees and shoulders, he is a constant figure on football sidelines throughout Oklahoma high schools and colleges. Dr. Kihn's deep commitment to sports and devotion to his patients proves that he is the man to see, even though he is an Oklahoma State fan. Oklahoma State, the spooky team, this is their time of year.
Are they going to get their first conference win?
They may get their first conference win. I don't know.
Arizona State, they're underdogs.
They wear the Halloween colors, black and orange, and a bunch of other grays and other things they've incorporated.
Did you they should dress candy corn this Saturday.
Ooh, candy corn would be good.
Did you see the uniforms they're wearing on Saturday?
No.
Are they candy
Oklahoma
corn?
State? Yes.
Yeah. Throw some yellow in there.
It's unbelievable. It's an ode to their agricultural past.
Oh, nice.
Is it brown and yellow?
It is very Halloween.
Is it a very
oh my god
animal impregnation? Let me see. Oh dear. Guys.
Like anarchy on the helmets there.
Guys, come on.
That's what I thought.
Come on.
It's like the
They
Wicked
need
Witch.
anarchy to try to get a victory.
It is
of the
Wicked
West.
Witch. Yeah. Or the East. Which one
Yeah,
was the
whichever
one?
one.
Or I don't know. Well, it ain't Glenda, baby. Tell you what, guys, I don't know. We got Maine coming to town and everything to prove. We're gonna get a victory. I'm pretty sure the Sooners are favored by big double digits, and there's a 3 handle on that baby. 34.5 last I checked. I think it goes up. My guess is day of it goes up. First prediction of the night. I think it's going to go up to. I think it's going to be in the 40s. So I think this is nearly a lock if you can get it at 34.5.
ESPN didn't have a number when I looked earlier.
No, it's only. I think only FanDuel had a number out, and they were early with that. And I think they're going to regret putting a number out like that. I bet they stopped taking action because it's such a sure deal.
It's pretty funny. We used to laugh at the SEC for these late season matchups, and it could not come at a better time for us.
We need it so bad.
Do we have another one
It's
that we can
embarrassing.
put on the
That's what it
schedule?
is.
Yeah. Well, we understood why they did it,
Yes.
and
And it's
it makes
usually
sense.
before rivalry week for them.
Yeah, and so it makes sense that you work it into the heart of your schedule. The SEC schedule is so daunting, so difficult. Now, I don't know, what's the history? Do you know when did they start doing this? Did they start it before they got good? Because they weren't great in the mid-2000s, the early 2000s. They only started getting good in really the mid-2000 teens.
Well, LSU won a
Florida.
national championship in 03.
Yeah, but not as a
That'd be
league.
nice.
As a league.
Top
Yeah.
to bottom. So they'd have a team that would pop up and it was like another team every other year. So I wonder if this was a coordinated effort around that, or if they just thought this was a great thing to do. It'll be interesting to see if they do it going forward or if we add another league game.
It's honestly pretty brilliant, not gonna lie.
Yep. I'm for it now.
Yeah, I'm for it now, but I'd rather have a league game, I think.
No.
You don't think so? I'd rather have a league game. I mean, if we're good,
Okay.
you might need that
okay.
game. I don't
I'll
mean
take the 9th game, but one of our first 3 would be at the end right now.
I'd be fine with that.
Temple would be right, or whatever.
timing wise.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Two
to give you a little bit of
two
a-
non-con, start some conference, and then you have
A-
this late season.
And with a bye week, you get some rest at the heart of the deep depth of the season. Strategically, I see that for sure. Oh yeah, I just like the idea of another conference game. One, it's more revenue within the conference, but also you may need that game to give you the credibility to get in. One of the things I was looking at this week, the playoff predictor has them in, but there's a scenario where I don't know if Indiana deserves to get in if they are 11-1.
Yeah, they haven't played anyone like top.
Anyone. So
50
so
or
they
something.
play Penn State. That's the only team they play. If they get drilled by Penn State and in the multi-way tie don't make the Big Ten conference game, the playoff predictor says they're in. They're a lock. I could see an argument where a 9-3 team should get in over them because of the schedule.
The other team like that's Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
I
With
think
the
you gotta be
exception-
rewarded for only having one loss in a season.
But they
But-
literally might not have a top 50 win, and a 3-loss LSU will have like 4 top 30 wins.
And their losses are all to top teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like our
You have
scenario.
11 spots to fill.
It's our scenario preseason, right? If we have 3 losses,
Yeah.
we split our six top 15 games and go 3-3.
Here's the
With so
math.
many spots to fill.
If
I
you
think
have
you put them
if
in.
you have 3 teams from the Big Ten, 4 or 5 teams from
They
the
would be the 13th.
SEC, if you have 2 teams from the ACC,
No,
if-
because you have Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and or Indiana.
yeah, and if you've got Clemson and Miami, you've got the Big 12
I think one,
one,
with
and
the
you've got
exception of
5. So I'm saying it's close.
Iowa State.
It's actually arguable.
Iowa State undefeated and then losing the Big 12 championship game, they might still get in, or BYU.
Right?
Same
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
That's how they get into.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know.
Well, if they get into and ACC gets into, and the SEC gets in the bare minimum of what they
They'll
deserve,
get 4 for
and
sure.
Indiana doesn't get in that scenario. And I'm
Yeah.
saying they get pummeled by Penn State. If their only loss is a tight game against a Penn State who plays in the Big Ten title, that's a different argument. But it's still an argument. I'm pissed if I'm the 9-3 team from the SEC who got left out with a very difficult schedule against Indiana. Anyway, I don't know. Just they're a team that wears red and white, and I thought we'd talk about them instead of the Sooners.
But where does the 8-4 Sooners land?
See, I think they're in the
La La Land,
debate.
That's where
I think they're in the
84 is.
debate.
Because that's never going to happen.
I think it might not. There's
It's
a
not.
slim chance it
I'm gonna-
doesn't happen.
Hot take. OU doesn't finish 8-4 this year.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, but
What
so,
kind of odds would you give?
in
me?
all
10-1.
Oh God!
seriousness,
How much can I put on that?
in all seriousness, the timing of this main game that we're kind of joking about, you get this hopefully easy win. You get to take a break or work on some things like we're needing to leading into Missouri. You win that game and then you get in bye to finish up your last 2 games. For us in this scenario, that's unbelievably beneficial.
It's very beneficial.
Especially if we had done better, if we
Yeah.
had 2 more losses
Yeah.
or something, or 2 less losses than what we have.
Yeah.
And you can go into the Bama LSU stretch with rest and
Well, the way we were talking about one less loss to South Carolina. And you're 5-3 going into the back stretch.
it
And if
really
you say
feels
you can
completely
fit-
different.
You can figure out how to win out the rest of your schedule, and you actually have an argument to make.
Well,
Right.
9-3, you don't have an argument. I
get
think you're
into
a.
the playoff.
I mean, you're a lock. The only way you're not in is some weird Indiana type of situation that bumps you out.
Yeah, the reason that South Carolina loss felt the way it did was not just how the game started, but I think everybody knew that was
That was
the
it.
kind of nail in the coffin for the season,
Right.
no matter what happens, because
Yep.
we could flip a switch and become great and run it out and it wouldn't matter. It'd still be,
Right.
how did you lose that game? Why did you lose that game?
Would that be more frustrating to figure out a way to win the rest of your games, go 8-4, you're left out of the playoff, you're playing in a bowl that doesn't mean anything. I mean, I guess we'd have to look at it and say from where we were, that's a tremendous
Yeah, it's a-
production turnaround.
It's
That's
a
the trail
springboard.
keeps his job right now too. If we don't lose to South Carolina.
Yeah, but I'm saying with where we are today, having lost to South Carolina, if you turn it around and you're 8-4,
And you're
um,
really
I mean, it's a
saying those 3
huge springboard
turnovers.
for next year. You feel
Yeah.
so much better if you can close the season beating Missouri, Alabama, and LSU, obviously.
Right.
Turn some sort of corner.
right?
I
But
don't
yeah,
even know
you
why we're
would.
wasting our breath on this.
No, but you would feel disappointed that
Yeah.
you either the Tennessee or the South Carolina game, if you just could have got past that.
I think definitely so. I mean,
Both, ironically, had 3 turnovers in the first half.
like, would you give us a 40% chance of beating Missouri?
Yeah.
Would you give us what would you give us? A 20% chance of beating Alabama at home?
Okay.
Would you give us a 20%
20%
chance of,
chance to LSU.
all right. So assuming we win against Maine, that's
Okay.
a 2% chance that we are there.
That's not what we're talking about.
Probably not.
That's like saying Jill Stein
Things
has
will
a
be
chance to win the
different.
presidential election. And we all know that's not happening.
There's a presidential election?
Yep.
What are you talking about?
What? So,
We'll be potting live Tuesday
now
evening.
how it affects the Oklahoma Sooners and the search for the offensive coordinator. So I had a poll out this week and basically said, where do we go from here? And looking at the Maine game, what is the priority? Do we look to play the young guys? Do we experiment with the offense, or do we just build some rhythm and continuity with the starters? And how did you guys answer?
I answered young guys. At this point, I mean, I think we've seen what we want. We've seen what we've seen with the starters and with the lineup that we have out there. I think this is a placeholder at offensive coordinator. I think we're just bridging the gap between Seth Luttrell and whoever's going to be there next. And you need to get your future ready faster, especially on the offensive line, than you would in a season where you're saying, you know, we do go beat South Carolina. We only have 3 losses, and we're fighting for a potential spot in a playoff. That, Jay, you said it well. The nail in the coffin was South Carolina, in my opinion. Start playing some of the young guys, and I still fall back on the fact that I know it can be, but it can't be much worse than what's been out there.
My counter argument to that would be, I normally am all in favor of playing the young guy versus the veteran if it's about equal. I say you just go with the young guy. He's going to have more upside. If your freshman is even with the junior, just start playing the freshman now, because it's going to pay off, you know, twofold. But the exception to this is we have to get a 6th win, and our best chance of that is Missouri. So as much as I want to play young guys against Maine,
You want to get the rhythm?
I want it, specifically, I want the offensive line that you're going to roll with into Missouri to maybe get 90% of the snaps.
So
But
you
that's almost like just like
But only because we have to get a 6th win.
let the veterans just say, or most of the veterans, if you're going to play mostly young guys on the line, it's like, hey, you if you're a veteran, you might plug in for the main game just to do some work, because you should just be able to go in without much film and perform, and go focus on Missouri for 2 weeks in practice by yourselves.
yeah.
I guess,
and-
but I think they need, the offensive line specifically needs the communication, the teamwork, the
The reps, the game
everything
reps.
together.
Yeah.
And now if we had already,
I think you have to have Jackson Arnold be comfortable. So in this game, you have to protect the quarterback, the moat. Like that's the most important thing. I did, what was the second one, offensive play calling or something like that?
Experiment on offense.
Experimenting on offense, because Joe John has never called plays before until last week. Joe John needs to get confidence in his own ability to play call by scheming well with the layering and stuff like that. Maybe throw deep more against Maine than we have at all. That in turn gives Jackson Arnold confidence that he can maybe stay in the pocket a little longer, because the athletes they have up front shouldn't be anywhere near what we've seen this season outside of Temple. And then you're giving Joe John the confidence in knowing that, oh, well, with these guys that we've got out there, I know that these plays are going to
Yeah.
be better than what we have been running. And so not experimenting like trick plays or
Sure,
that,
no.
but just
Finding what works.
finding what works and
So
sticking with it.
not so much
Finding what you
That's what I-
what
not
reps
just
does work.
confidence,
That's what I answered
but
the poll.
information.
Yeah.
You're giving him good information. So I think that's why I made the poll the way I did. I thought there's merits to all of them.
No, there's no wrong answer.
I said young guys, but I'm really leaning towards Jay and the rhythm method here. I thought that there's something to that, and you do need to get that 6th win, and you need everything you can, which also, I mean, all of it works together, right? You want young guys who not just are building for the future, but actually building for roles that they may be called on to play, a la Sexton getting hurt in the late second quarter, and our chances of winning the game go away. You also need the experimentation to see what works, what doesn't. Let's figure out how to, part of that, I guess it works more in the rhythm, but you do want to have a chance with Arnold to have a little bit of confidence to say, I can stay in the pocket and hit guys. And all of this talk about Thompson's open, why don't you hit Thompson, which I think is overblown. But then maybe he gets a chance to actually look up and hit Thompson or whoever's streaking down the sidelines, which in the next game might be Farouk, and gives you a chance to actually
we
do
don't? Is
something.
Fruit back?
You don't think he might be back by Missouri?
No, I don't.
I think
I
there's
haven't
a
seen
chance he is.
I haven't
I-
seen anything on that
He-
of him going out in pregame and running, doing anything like that.
I don't either. I don't know. We've already talked about OU's physical therapy team and the beef that they have with the coaches, but this is an injury that, I mean, you should be back from this. Honestly, you just should.
From a medical expert point of view,
I mean,
you're
it's a
saying.
broken bone. Broken
Yeah.
bones, everybody knows, it's basically 6 weeks. Now it's
It's a weight bearing bone.
it's a weight. Yeah, it's a bone that's. I'm sure it's sore, and I'm sure it, hurts a little. I can see why we're not rushing him back from Maine, but wow, he should play against.
Did you hear what
Missouri.
Brent said on his Monday Rudy's thing about Brendan Thompson being open? He said on those plays that that's Jackson's third read. So all this people complaining about, oh, I see Brendan Thompson smoking his guy and he's wide open.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
part of the
when it
complaint.
gets
Is
to the-
why is he your third read? Because
But that's
what's
not
your
Jackson's
first
fault.
But Jackson's
no,
not
no,
missing
it's
it.
not.
Right.
So Jackson's running
He's
for his
supposed
life
to go
by
this
the
way,
third.
this
Yeah.
way, and then that's his last look. Well, he didn't have time for the last look because he's got two guys bearing down on him, and even stepping up into the pocket and rolling to the side. Thompson might be the other side of the field, so he's 50 yards downfield.
don't do
plus,
that.
you're all the way.
It's a timing route
sideline,
too. You can't
That's an
make that
80-yard
happen.
throw at that point.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know if I never took it as people are mad at Arnold.
Oh,
for
I
that.
have.
I took it as they're
I've
mad
seen
at.
tons of-
I took it that way too.
Did you see?
I've seen a ton of people complaining. Why isn't Jackson throwing it to a wide open
Yeah,
Brendan Thompson?
that's my takeaway.
Oh,
is
okay. I guess
I mean,
mad at
I
that.
guess
For
I'm
people,
on here.
people,
My
people
point
mad
is,
at Sethford saying that, well, he's open and you're not having him throw it. But I've seen more Jackson hate and Hawkins about he's not throwing to a wide open quote unquote
Okay,
Brendan Thompson.
okay, so here's my problem with.
And when we're there, I don't see it because at the point that they're saying he's open and I'm watching the play happen, he's literally got three guys around him with his
Thompson's-
five
Thompson's
linemen
Well,
around him.
really is-
well, and I'll say this because, and I
Yes.
want to go back to Jay because I know what the point he's going to make is a good one. But I'll say this about Thompson open and fans saying that. A lot of times fans, and I've probably maybe been guilty of this myself, you are looking at the end of the play and that safety and everybody's broken off of the play and he looks open because the guy knew the ball wasn't going there. And so the play's broken down. So a guy's open only because in no universe was that ball going to get thrown and the guy knew not to cover
Right.
it. And so you're not looking at a guy that's open. You might as well look at a guy on the sidelines and say he's open.
Well,
Make your point.
to that, I would say there's times where a player is about to be open. How about
Right,
that?
right.
And you're not
True.
seeing it about
True.
to be open.
True.
So
And your
they don't
point
have
about-
to just be clearly open and then, oh, he's clearly open. Now I'm
Right,
going to
yeah.
throw it.
Right.
You need to
Throw
see.
people-
That's the Dylan Gabriel problem.
Yeah, you need to see that he's running full speed. The DB's backpedaling, and if they're even, no one is going to turn and run
Right.
with it.
Right.
So at that point, that's your throw. That's your cue.
But you're
you go.
saying that the offensive coordinating
Yes. So
is failing.
we have I will say we've even a little bit underperformed with our young guys. I'm not going to give them too hard of a time, but they were all elite high school football players that should come in and do better than like Raggins,
Mhm.
who has
Reagan.
5 catches on 280 snaps or something, which is insane. But why is the only receiver you have that is a threat at all the third look? That's my point in this play design. in
That's a
the scheme.
legitimate,
So what's look?
especially late in a game.
What's look
where
number
you
one?
need like that.
Bauer Sharp.
Right.
Option number
Yes.
2, Hester.
Or the running back.
3 is Thompson, and then 4 you're
But-
looking for Jordans.
But it also
I mean,
speaks
what's-
to-
Check down the running back.
But it speaks to Thompson's. I mean, everyone was like, "Oh, Thompson's developed a really a knack for running the route tree and stuff like that." It actually speaks widely against that. Thompson goes vertical, like that's just what he does. I'm not saying it's not a valuable first look once in a while,
But
but
that's all he's
that's
got.
all he has.
Okay, but here's the deal. Why would you not have JJ Hester run all the wasted third read plays?
I don't know.
I think it's a good point.
Like that part I don't get.
And I'm not going to put it all on offensive coordinating. It's probably still 10% Jackson for not throwing him open
At least.
when, even if it's his third read,
Or
he either
looking.
needs to read it quicker
Right.
or he just has to trust it
Well,
and know that he's
a
got
great
that guy that's probably
quarterback
gonna beat
knows-
somebody.
Sometimes a great quarterback, his third read is made before the ball snaps. Because he already knows that's not going to be there. That's not going to be there. This,
Right.
or most likely, that's my best situation. We see it.
I don't know. how
we
you get
see
that
when
with-
there's no
without a quarterback
safety.
coach, though.
Yeah, that's true. We have one now.
We have one now. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that changes.
That-
Obviously, this game, it should
Well,
change.
that's why you need a quarterback coach, obviously, all the way through the season, in the preseason, in the off season, so that you're
Well,
talking
see-
to this guy about this stuff, and because you're not going to pick it up in game 8.
To see Aaron Murray on his pod pointed that out early on because he said that the quarterbacks off the get-go are already looking at the wrong spot, basically off the snap. He's like, you need to be able to look over here and be like, this is gone, because they're in cover 2, and I know my route's over here. So that's not. I don't even need to
So
look
I've
over.
got these two over here.
Yeah,
Right.
I need to look over here. And apparently we're doing the opposite where like this is gone, and that's where he's looking. And then they have to come back and find something else.
Well, that tells me he's only reading through the play as it's drawn up on paper
Right.
and not interpreting anything that's on
but
the
taught
field.
that too.
And taught that. No, and
They've got
I'm not
15
blaming Arnold.
They've got if you line up quick,
Right.
you have up until 15 seconds for the person in the headset
To say
to be
something.
like, hey, don't worry about
Right.
X and Y is gone.
1 and 2. Yeah.
Right.
You need
Just-
to worry about Z and,
Yeah.
Yes.
and the tight end or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I hope we get back to a situation where our quarterbacks are seeing that as opposed to relying on the headset. Like,
no,
Well,
I'm saying, but that's an option
Just
this
that-
year for a young
it-
guy.
world
it-
of
Should be in,
it
in
is.
conjunction together.
it is, but it's like you gotta hope there's coaching there as well. Be like, hey, you read this, like that's not there, and if it's past 15 seconds, I need you to see that so that we can check out of this or go to the sideline for hand signals or etc. Like, there's got to be some.
But yeah, I would think
progression.
too on the sidelines with like you said with hand signals, you could probably cancel read 1 and 2.
Yeah,
well,
but
that's the Riley
I
check
don't know.
with me.
You think?
Yeah.
I want to see against Maine. We better see 3 40+ yard completions. I don't care what defense they are running. We better have
Yeah.
at least 3 deep
That's
balls.
a good over under right there.
That would have been a good over under.
I think that's what it should be at 3, at least 3.
All right. So let's say
Even if it's a
Let's make it
35-yard
unofficial.
Unofficial prop bet.
prop bet of the week. The unofficial prop bet of the week is brought to you by
2.5 or 2.5.
2.5 or 3.5.
I think 3.5. I
3.5.
would like to see 4
Yeah.
plus.
So 3.5, 40 plus. Now the ball
Is that
has
in
to
the air?
travel 40.
Or just completions.
I think it has to travel.
I don't know because I haven't seen any of our underneath receivers outside of Jacob Jordan
Yeah.
understand how to
All right.
run after they catch
We're gonna
the
have
ball.
2 legs to this. One is 40 yards plus in the air, 3.5, and then the other is 8.5, 40-yard completions.
Oh, that's way too high, I think.
7.5.
No, I think
6.5.
I'd say 2.5, 40 in the air. And then I would say probably
4.5.
5.5
5.5.
of the 40 total.
Yeah, no matter how it gets there.
I
Oh,
would,
I would
go
go
over on the 2.5.
Over. See, I don't think those are high enough numbers.
I don't think we have guys that are going to run 20-yard slants that are going to catch it and run another 20 yards.
I mean, this includes a guy catching the ball in the backfield and going 50 yards.
I don't see that.
That should
much
happen.
either.
I
I don't know how bad Maine's defense is.
follow Maine a lot.
They're
I would
Maine.
breaking them down on film, and they play a lot of Canadian football, so it's hard to keep up the rule changes. But I
It should
think
be
that we
kind
can
of
run with these
equivalent to,
guys.
like probably less than Bixby.
And on the other thing we talked
Yeah.
about, the fans were putting it on Jackson for not seeing it, and that quote unquote Brennan Thompson's always open. But
Right.
even Gabe, who's watching the all 22, says that Thompson's always open. But again,
He's on that a lot.
I think if you've got a guy that's 8 yards off of the line of scrimmage and Thompson is getting past him at the 25-yard mark,
Yeah.
well, and that's Jackson's third read, it ain't happening
No
at that
shot.
point.
Right.
Yeah,
No shot.
there's
So
there's
so
no
you're-
way he's, especially if
I
he's
agree
on the
with
left
you.
side and he's having to roll to the
Right.
right, you're not going to make a 65-yard throw from one side to the other
what
that's
is
really 40
well,
yards.
what is usually a timing route in that case too, and
Yeah.
your timing's all off if you've rolled.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
the angles,
I think that complaint is a little
you're leaving a
overplayed.
safety to come over and,
Yeah.
'cause, I mean, teams are starting to play 2 high safeties.
Yeah.
Earlier in the
have to agree
season, it
with
was
that.
everybody was playing up.
I don't know.
Now they're playing back.
I mean, to me, I have no leg to stand on to argue with them breaking down film. That's what they see. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree with
They don't
that
have a
easily.
dog in the fight. I mean,
They don't accept they are
They're biased.
They're
in certain
biased.
things.
they're podcasters who they don't get. They're probably smarter than us. That we're a little more kind of not play it both ways, but a little more forgiving and scientific about it, where they're just saying this sucks and they're not doing it. And if I'm going to criticize the Teddy and Gabe podcast, it's everything is emotional, all or nothing. This is horrible. This needs to be perfect. I hate this. I see up a mistake, and I'm just going to talk about it over and over and over and over again. And I think this is something that they're just latched onto and won't let go of. And I think they're making, it's not a mountain out of a molehill, but it's a mountain out of a small mountain. I mean, out of a small hill kind of deal. So I don't know. I think it's a little overplayed is all. And I've not been real positive on Thompson. So this is not me trying to defend the guy I've defended. I'm just saying I just don't think it's fair as much as they think it's fair.
Yeah, I don't think Thompson's some diamond in the rough situation where
I mean, he's not Hollywood Brown.
no,
He's not
I think
Edie
he-
Westbrook.
and
No.
I think he's far from it.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I don't think like I said, I think he can do one or two things. And we saw one of them against South Carolina, which was great, and we hit him.
100%
In Arizona.
believe he could be a Hollywood Brown.
Could be.
I don't think so.
become.
I do
don't
because
I don't think he's that fast.
I don't think he could be.
I don't think
he-
I don't think he's
that
fast.
fast.
He's not Hollywood Brown.
He can't run
It-
over the middle routes to do it.
he can't. You're,
But we
it's-
don't.
It's
Why
I
don't
don't know
we if
why
we
I'm a
can't?
Thompson like mega defender.
I
He
don't
could
either.
play Jacob Jordan's role.
No, but
but
here's
he's
the-
not.
No, but here's the deal. You're talking about someone that had CeeDee Lamb and other people and Baker freaking Mayfield. So to say that he just can't do what Hollywood Brown did is, I don't know. There's not enough
I get it.
evidence or something.
Or an offensive line. I get it. But I don't think this year Thompson was going to, there is no universe in which Thompson was going to be a Hollywood Brown this year. He may become that if everything
to
else
start
is
the
there.
season, he
There is
could
a
have.
universe of
I don't
Gibson and
think-
And if
Anderson
you had
out there.
yeah, you have a Gibson,
then
and
maybe he's
Anderson,
on the
and a
third
Farouk,
corner.
and a Burke, and somebody
I
else.
don't think he'd still be there.
If they line up
Hollywood Brown wasn't the third look.
Yeah, he was.
I don't think so.
no, not by mid through that season. He was
No.
number one.
He was number
And
one.
Edie Westbrook was the number one guy
Yeah.
too.
What are you talking about?
CeeDee Lamb is a freshman.
CeeDee
You're
Lamb
talking- you're
was
talking-
always your number one look over Hollywood Brown.
Not in 2017, he was.
But he wasn't
he
the
was.
third
No
look.
way. Not
Yes,
in
he was.
2017. No, he
Not until
wasn't.
the Texas game.
He didn't even
started
he didn't even come on until the Oklahoma
Oh,
State
mistake
game.
game. In
Mark Andrews was your look ahead of Hollywood
I
Brown.
would say it was Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, and then probably CeeDee Lamb in 2017.
Yeah.
Truly, like I think CeeDee Lamb became CeeDee Lamb in 2018 with
Yeah.
Kyler Murray. I think that was CeeDee Lamb's breakout. Truly,
Look at some stats. Then.
but I don't disagree. I mean, Hollywood. Nobody knew
I don't think
Hollywood's
Brennan
name
Thompson is
until
either one of those guys. Like I said, if Gibson and Anderson were still healthy and Burks is in the slot, well then Thompson doesn't see the field, in my opinion, except I don't know, 20 snaps a game, because he doesn't compare to any of those guys.
So I don't think that's why I'm saying if he turns out next year to be Hollywood Brownish, I'm not going to say I'm wrong. I'm going to reserve the right that he could get there. I just don't think there was any way this season he was going to get to that stature, because I don't think I think he's got a lot of development to do. And some of it is just upstairs of the mental toughness of always catches the ball, always runs the right route, always shows the right effort.
he's not a vacuum.
No.
Like
I mean-
we've seen Hollywood
Right.
and those guys be.
When this
Exactly.
main game's over, if he's got 7 for 130, I'll be shocked.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
against Maine.
Hollywood had 11 more catches than Lamb and 200 more yards.
in 2017,
Yeah.
and he didn't play half the season.
He was in Hollywood doing movies or something. I don't know. I don't remember the story.
Something like so. He was hanging out with Gus Johnson. All right, we beat this.
So,
to death. Let's go.
That's
Let's
pretty
move on.
good. Look, weather's improving. We're trying to beat the weather, just in case you guys wonder why we're feeling a little anxious or anything. It's not just because we are real excited about this main game, but the weather's improving. I'm looking at the radar. It's looking better, guys.
All right, in
It's gonna be okay.
2018,
Hold on, that was
Hollywood
15
Brown
minutes old.
had 10 more catches than Lamb and 200 more yards again.
There you go.
Yeah.
He was the first look. He was not the third look, which
Yep.
was my point.
Hollywood was lethal.
He was not the third
when
look.
he was here,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
and him and Lamb are two completely different receivers.
And you see that in their pro careers.
Yeah, for
For
sure. And I mean, Lamb is the better receiver, but Hollywood in college is going to catch a ball and run with it, and he's going to have the yards because of it. Like no one's going to he catches the ball in open space, he's gonna figure it out.
Well, let's talk a little bit about one of our new sponsors, Wonderful Spirits. We've got Only One Vodka that we're polishing off tonight. We've had their 2 ponies. We've definitely finished the job with that one. Now we're trying to finish it with the Only One Vodka. It is a what is it? 10-time distilled. It's an amazing very what did you say? Easy drinking, very smooth vodka.
Super smooth.
Super smooth. Only One. Pick it up. We really appreciate their sponsorship and
I'm
Wonderful.
actually gonna pour a little more right now.
That's made
Go
in
for
state. Got
Yeah, you know what? Give me some.
that is an in-state Only One. We need as much Only One as we can get. We really appreciate what they're doing for the Sooners, and what they're doing for us because it's taken a lot of spirits to get us through this season. So Connor, did you come up with some trivia for this week?
Got some trivia for you guys.
Okay, good. I got some too in case I had some
Really-
backup because you didn't tell me if you got some or not.
I
So
didn't want to. Yeah,
Okay.
like I'm tired of Steve fact checking me. So, so he
see if
prob-
we came up with the same
so he
trivia.
probably already did fact check me and like just subconsciously.
You're wrong.
It was hard to come up with trivia this week on the FCS battle, but we are playing Maine, an FCS team. Another, I like these multi-part questions. How many times has OU played an FCS team, and what is their record against FCS teams?
12-0.
I would say, hold on. The division between FBS and FCS happened in 1978. I would bet we've never lost to an FCS team.
Oh, I would hope not.
I bet we played
I don't know.
7 teams that are FCS today,
Steve already fact checked this.
but I
This is
bet
pissing
we
me off.
played.
Don't let Steve. You need
I
to fight.
bet-
Jay, what's your guess?
I actually don't think we. I didn't think it went that far back. So my initial was it's only been 20, 25 years-ish that we've played FCS teams. So I was gonna say I really can't remember that many. I was gonna say 4.
I'm really pissed off that you found that you picked the same question that I did.
4?
I'm in your brain.
He's a jerk
I'm
like
in
that.
your brain.
I'm going 4-0.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
It's 7.
It's not 7.
Oh.
It's 7-0,
7-0.
except for it's 7-0 since 1998. If you include the 2 games before that against North Texas, who was FCS when we played them, it's 9-0.
Correct.
All right, what's the
Wasn't
rest?
that far off.
The last part of the question.
All right.
Shut up, Steve. Steve can't answer this. Who was the last FCS team that we played?
Oh,
Oh,
that's good. They'll know this.
I bet they won't.
Come on.
It was 72-0 or something.
I'll give you a hint.
Oh, close.
I'll give you a hint. We did a podcast.
Gabriel and God.
What's the first letter?
Something like Western Carolina or something like
Good
that.
job,
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah.
Well done.
Nice.
Well done.
Nice. So what
What was
is
the score?
75 nothing?
What about when we played East Popcorn State? What was that score?
So what is the average margin of
Jay.
victory for the Sooners versus FCS in the 9-0?
I'm gonna say 40.
No, it was 50. I'm gonna say 52 or 59.
55.4. Very good guess. Very good. Great
So
minds
after
think
your-
alike.
After your evaluation of the history,
Uh-huh.
that's why you feel like the spread is too low. So I can already tell you're locking the Sooners.
Big shock. The Homer's gonna lock OU.
Yeah, you're locking OU,
I would have never guessed.
and you think FanDuel is gonna lose a bunch of money on this game.
I've traveled to an established residency in Kansas so I can open my account. I've mortgaged the house. I've sold everything. I've liquidated the 401k. We're all in on this one, boys. We'll see.
You would
I don't know.
really hit a home run if you did that, and the tornado hit your house tonight.
Ooh, that would be good.
That would be like
That'd
a
be double nice.
trifecta
Yeah. Hey,
earnings.
let's let's hope. Knock on wood.
I don't have to bet my mortgage because my house is paid off.
Oh wow. Well, let's brag about our great financial situation. Wow, somebody's really good with money.
Not the vice president guy in the
No,
banking system.
I'm not that good with it. To me, a mortgage.
No, we can tell by your locks of the week.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We
That's
just go over
that's why I
that.
have a mortgage.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Well, speaking of locks of the week, let's get right to it then, and let's talk about the Realist Deal locks of the week.
The Realist Deal Locks of the Week.
And the Realist Deal locks of the week, of course, are brought to you by 5 Star Concrete. Great sponsor, David and Josh, local business servicing the metro area from patios, sidewalks, driveways, shops, and more. Call them or text them at 405-306-3014 or look them up on Facebook, 5 Star Concrete. Well, I'm real excited about these locks of the week because I may have discovered a little anomaly that I'm going to exploit, and I think I'm going to turn everything around. But speaking of that, let's pull up our stats and see just a little check-in on how we're all doing in that regard. Last week do I get points for being consistent? Because I was 1 and 2 yet again. I think that's worth something, right?
So the Steve over under is 1.5, and it's under every time.
Not every time. I was 0-3 once.
That's still under 1.5.
You were 2-1 once.
I was
Yeah, I
2
think
and
I
1
know
once.
one,
I was
2 and 1.
yeah. I started strong, and then
Space
1,
Steve,
2,
okay.
3. Oh, it's 2 and 1, 2 and 1 twice, guys.
Wow.
I've been 0-3 twice too. I'm all over the map. Overall for the season, 9 and 18, 33%. Connor, 12 and 14, 46%. Lucas, 13. Actually, you're 12, 14 and 1.
Correct.
Lucas, 13, 12 and 2, 52%.
2?
Yeah. And Jay, 20 and 7, 74%, giving us an overall record 54, 51 and 3, 51%. Listeners, the listener last week was 2 and 1. The listeners overall 16, 11 for 59%. Hey guys, it pays to be a listener. It pays to listen to the pod. We throw out a lot of information, and we're just trying to give you something to go off of. But the listeners take it all in and they navigate that and they get to winning money against Vegas.
So where'd we all go last week?
So I was 2 and 1. I'm sorry, 1 and 2. Is the objective to pick them right? Connor was 3 and 0.
Finally.
3 and 0, baby. Lucas 2 and 1. Jay 2 and 1. Listener 2 and 1. So
Everybody with a winning week except for Steve.
well,
Who'd thunk it?
let's just be all trendy. Whatever. Try to be different, honestly. Well, are you guys ready with your locks?
We are ready.
All right. You want to give us some listener locks first, Connor?
I'll give us a listener locks. This week's listener is Jake, good friend, listener, friend of the pod. He's got some controversial picks here, and I hope he loses every single one of them. He's got Maine getting 34.5 against the mighty Sooners.
He should have
of
waited to
Oklahoma.
listen to the pod.
Should've waited. He's got Ohio State giving 3.5 against Penn State. And
That's on the road, right?
That is
Yeah.
on the
Are they
road.
whiting out for that game?
No, it's 11 a.m. I mean, it might be a whiteout.
I
But
bet they do white out though.
Yeah,
I would white out.
I would too. Well, we did white out. Didn't do much. Didn't do much good for us.
We weren't like unanimous. If you notice, there was a lot of
It's
red
because
and other stuff.
Pennsylvania is a swing state and we're a red state.
Mm.
It's kind of one of those things. In his last pick, he's got Oregon giving 14.5 against Michigan.
I disagree with all his picks.
You're in pretty good shape then, Jake.
Yep.
I'll pencil him in at 2 and 1.
Pencil in.
All right, so let's just go around starting with the leader there. Jay, what do you got?
All right. I am going to go with Ole Miss at Arkansas minus ESC. ESPN's
6.5?
got, I'll take 6.5 because ESPN's got it at 7.
I got it at 6.5, I think, on my sheet.
And then I'm going to go with, I gotta make a decision here. I'm gonna go Indiana minus 7.5 at Michigan State.
What about the quarterback? What's going on there?
Does it matter? Because they beat Washington with the backup last week.
Yeah, I think he's gonna try and give it a go. The starter,
Who are they playing?
Michigan State.
Michigan
That may
State,
be
yeah.
detrimental.
Maybe. And then I'm gonna take the Fighting Nebraska Cornhuskers minus 6.5 at home against UCLA,
I like that.
who has to travel
Really far.
really far,
Two time zones.
and they
Yeah.
suck.
And they're very bad at football.
And Nebraska, going back and looking over plays, they really got screwed over
They got-
in that game.
Oh,
Like really
How
bad.
crazy was that?
They should have beaten Ohio State.
That really
Pretty
sucks.
absurd. They at
Ohio
least
State should
should
have
have,
almost been
they
out
at
of the
least should
playoff
have
race.
had a much closer chance to beat Ohio State than what they got.
Yeah, definitely picked up that first down.
Yeah,
By
just a
2 yards.
horrendous,
Unbelievable.
and they didn't even check it or look. I mean, I don't
don't
know how it doesn't
That's
get-
on Matt Rule to an extent.
That's true, and that's a criticism, not to derail us from this, but I'm not looking enough on the sidelines, and you can't see it on TV, but I would hope that our sideline is blowing up.
Yeah.
At some of these calls.
Yeah.
And that stat I sent you guys on Twitter for since they've joined the Big Ten, what have they
Three
had?
offensive
Do
holding.
you think
Three?
that's true? That was incredible.
Yeah.
3 offensive in opponent stadiums, right?
On the road, yeah.
I mean, we
3.
went the last 3 years of the Big
That's
12, with
crazy.
like 5
Right.
offensive holding calls in our favor.
It's
They've been there like
crazy.
what, 12 years or something?
Yeah.
I want to get back to that after we finish our
Yeah,
locks.
all right.
I have some referee talk. I have Nebraska -6.5 also against UCLA. I have Iowa State -13.5 against Texas Tech. I think their quarterback is out, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to ride with my old pal Lincoln Riley -2.5 against Washington, because that's a Pac-12 team in my book. So he actually has success in the Pac-12 other than Utah. So even though they're both in the Big Ten now, it's still a Pac-12 game to me.
It's the weirdest logic to go on in the world, but okay.
He's got a pretty good record.
What
Against
what
the
is it
spread.
against guys in blue uniforms?
Well, they're purple.
Okay.
Washington is.
Okay.
So.
It matters.
Well, you can't argue with the results.
Kind of can. You're not winning against the juice.
All right, I'm gonna go with some picks that I went with last week. A couple of them. I've got Tulane.
I bet you'll win those.
Yeah, right. Some teams that I picked last week. There's a better way to put it. I've got Tulane giving 14.5 against Charlotte tomorrow night.
I like that.
I've got Illinois getting 3 against Minnesota. And I've got Pitt getting 7.5 against SMU.
Nice.
I don't know if their quarterback's playing.
Pittsburgh's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already said it. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I've locked it.
Well, I almost went with the Nebraska one.
I'm
Yep.
glad you didn't.
You're
Yeah,
glad
me
you
too.
didn't. But I was going to take UCLA. No, I'm just kidding. I was going to take Nebraska. I like that, but I didn't. I went with these others. I got Vanderbilt getting 6.5 against Auburn.
That's a surprising line.
Yeah, see it. I think
I
they're.
Well,
I think they're trying to rope. I think they're trying to rope you in. So I didn't
Well,
go with it.
Consider me corralled. I've got Ole Miss giving 6.5 against Arkansas. Sorry. And I've got South Alabama giving 6.5 against Georgia Southern. I stayed away from the
That's
Sooners.
Crazy.
I stayed away from the Sooners.
That's shocking.
And you went with 2 teams you've never watched.
Wait, I've done my research on these guys.
His algorithm,
hmm
you got to trust it at this point.
One way or the other.
All right, so now we're done with locks of the week.
All right, so now we got prop bet of the week, the real prop bet of the week. Connor, give it to us. Lay it on us.
Big issue lately has been sacks. Sacks allowed. We play Maine this weekend. We've got over/under on sacks allowed at 2.5.
I'm going to tell you one thing I don't like about this stat. Is last week they got us for 10 sacks. When you go back and watch the film, they took quarterback design running plays
And made him
and
sack.
made them sacks. They took the backwards pass to Sharp,
And
who
called
was
it
going
a
to throw
sack.
it a second time. They called that a sack.
That is a sack. But it's not a sack in the sense of what we're talking
I mean, the
about.
ball's been thrown once, so to me, it shouldn't be a sack. And then when you watch the
Should be a
film and it's
TFL.
literally a quarterback draw, that's not a sack.
Right.
So, and what stinks is I think Jackson Arnold had
Hit over 100 yards.
130 rushing yards, but before you take the sacks
Or
yardage
103.
out.
I think it was
103.
103, yeah.
And of the NFL, they don't count sack yardage against the quarterbacks in the rushing totals, which obviously you're not going to get a ton of rushing from quarterbacks outside of
Where do they put
five or
that?
six guys.
Where do they put that number? Or is it just
Against
not
their, it goes
counted
against their
total
passing
offense.
yards.
against their total offense?
I don't
I
think it
think-
goes against passing. I think it just goes
Oh, I
against the
thought it
total
did.
offense.
Okay.
But they don't count they don't give it a negative rushing yard to the
So
quarterback.
if you were to add up
Well,
rushing
because
yards and
fantasy
passing
football would be
yards, it'd be
impossible
too
that
many.
way, right? That's probably why,
I don't know.
right? Your fantasy football would be impossible if they took the sack yards away.
No,
from,
it's because it's intelligent because it's a passing play. Why do you take it against rushing? It's dumb.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it predates.
So you
fantasy
got
football.
2.5 is the number?
Mhm.
I'm gonna say over
because of that.
because of
how they're
because
defining
of that
sacks.
for sure.
If they're gonna call quarterback design runs, yeah, you're right. I'll go.
I did not consider that when I set that line.
But they're not. They don't always do that. I think it's dependent on where he gets tackled. So if he is near
I don't-
the line
I
of
think if
scrimmage,
it's a
I don't think
snap
they're
and it's a
calling it.
speed option,
I think that was
and
an
he gets and
anomaly.
he gets tackled for a 2-yard loss, that counts as a sack.
And
I don't
just
think. I
been-
think that was an
it may have
anomaly
been
in
a
that game.
freaking Homer Ole Miss score.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because I have not seen it called like that ever.
I'm gonna
I mean,
say
if you look back at when we had pure rushing, you were not getting sacks on those guys running wishbone. They weren't
Right.
called sacks then. So
I'll go over just because we might get some late ones fourth quarter with young
Casey
guys.
Thompson. Connor,
I'll go over.
I'll go under.
This should be on.
I think it's gonna be under. I think it's gonna be under.
I think if it's over, it's 3 or 4. I don't think it's like.
Yeah, it's
some
not enormous, and
crazy number.
it might
Go Steve, I'm with you.
it might
I'm switching under.
switching under. I think the only way it's there is if we get a lot of funky stuff like you're talking about, where it's
Bad
ridiculous
schools.
to call it that. Well, that's not officiating exactly, but that sort of transitions into officiating.
I see a lot of people talking about these referees should be full-time jobs because the officiating has been so bad in college football for years. And obviously those guys have regular jobs and they're just calling games on the weekend and they're not able to devote their time to, somebody goes back and watches
The crap.
the plays and says, well, this was a first down, you guys got it wrong, and they get check marks against them, and they use that later in the year to decide which refereeing crews are calling the bowl games and stuff like that. But at this point, there's so many college football games that you can't pay referees full-time salaries to do this. But if we get to the point of having two super conferences or however we're going to call this, we get, say, 4 major conferences with 16 teams, and you've got just the 64 team conferences or leagues or whatever.
The elite.
Yeah, if you get Big 10, SEC, ACC, Big 12, so they're the only 4 conferences. Each one has 16 teams. At that point, I think they should look at being able to pay those 32 officiating crews
Yeah.
full-time money, and then the rest of it just stays like it is now, where the guys have regular jobs and they call, Chattanooga and
Sure.
Carolina on the weekend or whatever.
Well, whatever the lower league is. I mean, the lower league might be, not to pick on anybody, but it might be Kansas against Washington State.
Yeah.
Because they're not in the 64.
Yeah.
I totally would agree with you. I actually think there's enough money that you could do it in current FBS. It's a multi-billion-dollar sport. There's a lot of money
There's no
there.
reason you can't.
I don't see why you can't figure that out. Or at the very least, short of what I think is a very sensible thing that you're coming up with, have the crew that's back at headquarters reviewing things and have those be full-time jobs. And that's your elite group, just like they do in the NFL, where they say, oh, on the headset, the ball's actually on the such and such yard line, and they put it there and they keep moving with the game. It's no big delay. It's no like, let's go figure everything out.
Yeah.
You have those moments for challenges and whatnot. But otherwise, it's just like, we know where it is. You got a guy in a booth who's paid full time, even if it's just one guy who's a full time guy who's held to it. I don't know. I think there's enough money to do it. Regardless, they've got to figure something out. They need to get better talent, even if it's pay more. And you say these guys are going to keep. It's kind of like the state legislature, not to get political, but those aren't full time jobs.
Those guys don't do anything.
And those guys, yeah. And if anything, we need better paying jobs to attract better people to the legislature than a bunch of people who actually their primary job is whatever, and their legislative jobs is how they can redirect graft back to their full-time job.
Yeah.
Where we need them to be just full-time people working for the people. Well, we need full-time reps or some equivalent or close to it where this is their priority and they're going to focus on it. They're going to be held accountable. They're going to just attract a higher quality candidate who is not going to make the same mistakes that all these other guys make, especially if you get guys working together as a team and that are better. They understand it. They understand how each of them calls a game better. They just work together better as a team. It's a problem. It would be different if we were talking about a really lower league type of deal. Like I'm sure there's complaints in soccer and volleyball and even college baseball, name a sport, but this is a multi-billion-dollar, really, really big sport. This rivals some of the other major sports, the professionals.
Yep.
I mean, these big colleges are using the athletic departments to fund all kinds of stuff around their campus.
Yeah.
It's not just.
Well, this is a bigger business than U.S.
education.
Major League Soccer. So it should.
Oh yeah.
You got to elevate it
close.
above to a certain level. It's better. It's bigger than minor league baseball. So and I'm not saying that those guys should be or are. I understand where they are too, but you've got to get it closer to where we are with the other sports, or it starts to lose credibility, and fans have a problem with it.
Well, and
obviously.
it's an extreme take by me here, but 90% of what those officials do on the field can be done in an office hundreds of miles away with a screen in front.
Right, especially if you get technology.
Yeah,
with
all of the camera angles,
call
you
it
have,
lasers,
with
call it sensors,
everything
call
you
it
have
whatever.
available,
You could do it,
you could obsolete most of what the officiating crew does,
and
on
don't
the
make
field,
them look at it.
and you could do a better job of officiating the game.
I don't think 90% is anywhere near. That's way too high of a number because my biggest problem is that the objective calls and first downs and 1 foot inbounds and stuff like that. It's the
Well, that's the
whole-
stuff
the
you could.
holding.
But that's
But
the stuff
pa-
you could.
pa-
That's the
but-
stuff you could perfect, like first down and measurements and stuff.
They don't have to look at it.
Yeah, you don't.
Well, I don't think they're 90% off on that. I mean,
No.
I'm not saying they're 90% incorrect. I'm just saying 90% of the jobs that the officials do on the field could be done with the screen in front of your face. We all can be officials as well, if not better, sometimes in the stands than what is actually.
You might actually
Yeah.
see holding and face masks better. on a
Exactly.
TV screen.
Exactly.
Well, not just
especially with the right camera.
not just that. If you're an official, if you're a line judge, and your duties now have been marked down where you don't have to look at several other things you have to look at, because I know it's a tough job and you're looking at a lot of stuff. And if you're focused on the judgment call and not focused on these little things that there's a million ways to solve those issues of where the ball is and all of that. You don't have to be precise about where the ball is because we're going to get that precise answer for you. You have to be precise about the face mask or whatever that you're in the game to see. So it reduces their error rate because they're only focused on those very difficult things that they're now tasked with. Take all of the other load off of them and make that something that we just automate and do offsite or do through the booth or whatever it happens to be.
Because there's too much riding on subjectiveness in this case and stuff
Yeah.
that's not reviewable and stuff that you can't challenge. Look at again, another extreme example because it was blatant, but look at the Minnesota.
yeah, Sam Darnold gets a face
Sam
mask.
Darnold gets an obvious
No
face
call.
mask with the referee right in front of it, and there's a no call and it ends the game essentially.
Yeah.
So everyone in America had a TV in front of them at that point and saw that it was a face mask, and the one guy that's in charge of making that
Well,
call
Or that,
doesn't
or
throw a
that,
flag,
or that some
and you
of
can't
those,
challenge it.
or that some of those calls, not that they should be challengeable, but if it's a blatant miss, you should be able to override
Right.
the no call
Yeah.
on
Just-
the field.
There
Just
should be a
because you
buzz
didn't
in
get
to
it-
say
and-
you missed this.
And I'm okay if you're not going to buzz in for a holding, but anything that's blatant, and we talked about face mask being equivalent to targeting. I think a face mask that turns a guy's helmet for safety, you should have the same rule that you have in targeting to say you're out of the game.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And that should be something just like targeting that's reviewable to say, look, we saw the guy get his face mask pulled. We're going to call that. It has to be called. And if you want to hide behind safety, that's fine because it is safety and that's important too. But by all means, let's make sure that we get a call like that right. I understand if there's a holding or a guy lined up offsides. No, we can't.
You don't want to see holding called on every play.
No, and you don't want to booth
But
review
last
every
week,
one of
you had
those.
R. Mason Thomas on an island with just one tackle, chasing the quarterback with nobody else around him, and the tackle is grabbing from behind as he's
Mhm.
chasing the quarterback.
Yeah.
And nobody makes a call on that.
It should be clear and obvious overturns.
And
Like, fouls that were clear and obvious should be able to be.
I don't think you'd I don't think you'd buzz in and say there was a holding you didn't make, but I think what you'd do there is
Give a
if there-
makeup call.
well, no,
That's what I
hopefully
said.
not. I could maybe see you overturn a holding, which is opposite of what you're saying. I'm saying if there wasn't a holding and then you say, well, no, we're overturning that. He did not hold him. But more importantly, if you've got officials that are paid well and held to the right standard, then you can call, they're not going to make that mistake a lot.
There's incentive. to
There's
be better.
incentive to be better because there's somebody else going to take your job and you're out of a job if you're missing calls like that, especially in the SEC or any of the top leagues. I could understand if you're in FCS. I could understand if you're in Group of Five. There's got to be a difference between them. But when you're at this level of the league, you've got to be to a point where that's got to have some repercussions for a guy.
Well, and that's one of the biggest complaints is you have all of these people directly held accountable for stuff. Yet there's a group of guys on the field who very well could determine the outcome of a game.
Mhm.
And many times do determine outcomes of games because of what they do and don't call, who never have to answer for their mistakes.
And this
in
might,
a public forum.
this might make it even more difficult than for them, which we're talking about doing the opposite. But I think holding is an extreme penalty. It is almost a drive killer.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
almost over.
It's
And then
First and 20 is almost impossible.
it's at
in our
minimum-
offense.
on average at minimum a 15-yard penalty. It often is a 40-yard penalty because it stops the play that went and it pulls you
Yeah.
back the other
And
direction.
so there should be two types of holds, and there is two types of face masks in NFL, but there's not in
There's a
college.
5-yard and 15-yard.
Yeah.
They
That's
still
how it
have
used to
that.
be.
That's how it used to
in
be.
college.
I think it should be a 5-yard and a 15,
Yes.
which the 15
Incidental
is
face
incidental
mask.
because I've
And
talked
then
about
the
this
wrench.
for a long time. Incentives, that's a horrible incentive because if I think that he saw me grab the face mask, I'm damn sure making the tackle by the face mask. I'm not going to just let up and think maybe I get the 5-yarder. 15 or nothing. Well, hell, 15, I'm pulling into the.
Yeah, well, that's
Sussman got the one last week against the
where his
the
finger,
Ole Miss
he reaches
right,
over the
defensive
pile and
tackle.
He might
run
have
the ball.
grabbed him all the way and
The
pulled him in.
320-pounder got his face mask grazed by the tip of a finger.
And that's the same as if I rip your face mask around your head.
Right. But holding's the same way because there's times where
Mm.
the running back is through the hole, and then there's a hole somewhere,
Yeah, he's
right?
5 yards
behind
past
the
the line
Or
of
they're
scrimmage.
even. It's like
So are
50
you suggesting an incidental holding, like a 5-yard holding
Yes.
at the end of the run versus a 10-yard, it calls the play back?
If you're drop back to pass and you're a defensive end and you're just getting mugged, absolutely 10 yards because it's who knows what could have happened on that play
Right.
if you weren't held. If you're a running back that gets through a hole and there's a holding over here by a wide receiver across the
Which
field,
they're not
that
supposed
doesn't
to
even
call.
mean anything. But they do.
I know.
They do call.
I know.
And it's like it had no effect on
That
the
should
play.
be 5 yards from the end of the run.
Sometimes it's 30 yards away from the play.
Right.
There's a hold somewhere.
I like that.
Or if you get a punt return,
Well, that
and
actually makes their
the
job
punt
easier.
return
I'll tell you why.
comes, the receiver's running a left punt return, and the right gunner, 30 yards away, grabs a hold of the gunner, and your guy catches the ball and runs left. That guy was not going to be in on the play to
Right.
begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a 10-yard penalty from there, and
Yep.
you could lose 50 yards.
And here's why that makes their job easier. They're not having to think, do I throw my flag? Does this affect the game? They could think, that's a hold, period, that's a hold. And I can now come back and think, all right, that's a 5-yard hold versus that's the 10-yard negate the
And
play
on the
hold.
5-yard holds, it's at the end of the run. It's not at the spot.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
And that's what kills so many people is the ones that are 30 or 40 yards across the field, and it's a 60-yard run back or a 60-yard run, and it's a hold that
The whole
plays
thing's
no
called.
part in the play, and you
Yep.
go back and you're on the 6-yard line when you should be on the opposing team's 45, and
I
it
like this.
blows your whole
I
drive
think it
up.
makes their job a lot easier because it takes out the element of should I call it, shouldn't I call it? Just call it and then go talk in the huddle about where it should be.
I mean, they get to decide running into the kicker and roughing the kicker.
Exactly.
So it could
There
be,
is
it's the
subjective
same.
It's
yeah.
the same
There is
thing.
subjectiveness
It's
in
the
it.
same thing.
Why did they take the face mask away? For
I don't know.
safety?
I don't know.
I really don't know.
It
Everything's
has the
15
other
yards.
effect because it encourages
It's-
you to be
it's
as
the
rough
opposite
as
of safety.
possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other
Instead
thing-
of grabbing it and be like, oh crap, I grab it and letting go.
Right.
You grab it and you're yanking the guy down to the ground or turning his neck
Well,
30 degrees.
Even
away.
the one Billy Bowman got called for at the beginning of the game, when he has his hand on his face mask, is grabbing nothing. He has his hand
He
on
has
his
the visor.
visor.
He
Yeah.
grazes the
Has his
visor.
hand on his visor, is not grabbing at all. He's just pulling down on the helmet. If he grabs on the ear hole, it's not a face mask. If he grabs on the side of the helmet, it's not a face mask. It's,
If you grab behind the
You
helmet,
can't grab by the
It's a
head,
face
but yeah.
you can't grab
But he
any part of
He
the
didn't even
helmet.
do that. He went down his face
Yeah.
mask and then grabs him by the shoulder.
It shouldn't be called a face mask.
Well, the
It's
other
touching of the
thing
head.
that this reminds me of is the pass interference, where you have a guy that's in the college rule and you're beat. By all means, tackle him. Tackle him and stop the 45-yard gain
Yeah,
for a
if someone
15-yard
does a double
gain.
move on you,
Tackle him.
you might as well just take his legs off.
100%, and that's not well understood at all. It's not.
And no
well-
one does it.
It's not well coached.
No.
It's like if you see your defensive lineman jump off sides and you know they're taking a shot. If I'm a DB, it's immediately I look at every receiver that I'm lined up with or all my and tackle. Like, do not let them.
Well,
do
the other
anything.
place where I think they do use it is when it is a jump ball or something similar where the guy feels like he's beat and he's down near the end zone. The rough defensive play is to such an extreme because the guy knows and he's probably coached, hey, it's only a 15-yard penalty
instead of a 50-yard.
instead of a 50-yarder on the 2-yard
like the
line.
NFL.
Yeah,
It's a spot
exactly.
foul.
It's a spot foul. And that makes what's amazing to me, not only does that make sense, it's not difficult, right? It's not like, oh, we never know where that ball should be spotted. It's so obvious where it should be spotted. It's not anything that's difficult about figuring that out. I don't like it. I could get the idea of if you fall down in college, I didn't see if you touched the ground or not, or where you're down. I don't like that. I think if you're not down by contact, you should be able to get up and go. In college, they make it easy on the college ref because if you're down, you're down. And oh, did the guy cause it? Did he touch you? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't like that. I think you should be down by contact. I don't think that's that difficult to do.
Yep.
But it's not anywhere as easy as the guy interfered right here. This is where the ball should be spotted.
Oh, it's also it's the most controversial rule in football is the fumbling out of the end zone. Is
I hate it the
you've
most.
got possession,
Bar none, I hate
possession down the whole field. You're at the 1-yard line. You fumble the ball. It goes out of the end zone and it's a touchback.
To me, that is logic that
Steve loves
only
that
makes,
rule.
and I do not love that rule. I understand the logic of it, but I think it's from like the 1920s. And they need to update the game for everything else that we do in the game and think about, like, I think it made sense back then. I don't think it makes sense today for what it is.
I think you could kind of negate it to an extent. I mean, if you're in a goal, down and goal to go situation, you fumble the ball out, you get the ball at the 20,
Right.
and it's whatever down you were in.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you maintain possession. I don't care where you put the football. Whatever. 20, 25.
Because
I
if
don't
you,
care.
because like if it goes
You
out
didn't
to one,
lose. No one. It didn't change possession.
If
The
you go- if
defense
it-
to do nothing,
because if it goes out
did
at the
not do
one,
anything to
you
earn it.
still have possession. If
Exactly.
it goes out a yard and a half farther, you lose
Use
possession.
Yeah.
without a defensive player having to actually possess the
Yeah,
ball.
they don't have to get it or anything.
It's crazy.
That's bad.
It was like we talked about when Danny was taking off the ball in Texas and let the Texas guy go get it. If he just slides with his foot and kicks it out of the side of the end zone,
Yeah.
it's OU's ball.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, what sense does that make?
exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, we fixed officiating at least.
Take
Let's.
some
Is
notes.
there anything else to talk about when we talk about Maine before we get to the scores?
We just better freaking
We better bring it. We better look good.
beat the brakes off.
I'm a
them, man.
little afraid with the iffy weather and the rain chances. I
I'm
don't-
kind of on the other side of it where I think it might be like the dudes are like, hey, we didn't have anything to look forward to.
Oh no,
this
I knew
game.
that. Yeah, I'm thinking the crowd is going to
Oh, the
be
crowd's gonna
really
be-
weak.
It's gonna be a terrible crowd.
It's going to be a bad crowd.
It'll probably be our worst one in
It'll be
a decade.
well.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's going to be interesting to see all these people who have never been to an OU game that all of a sudden get to go to one this
Because they
season.
got free tickets.
And
Yeah.
and so that they can see what the hype guys like and they can see all of the things we complain about.
Those are people when you get.
What do you think the
fun.
conditions of the field will be?
Oh, who knows? That could
I
be
mean,
a
did you see how
nightmare.
bad it looked in the picture that was sent today?
So you? Oh, I
No.
didn't. No.
It looked awful. They're like, we're painting the end zones, getting ready for the game, and there's
So-
fan spots all over the place.
Well,
you
I
guys haven't played there in 2 weeks.
I get the
And
fact
it's
that.
been 85 degrees.
Well,
The
but
grass
that's
is still
no, that's
growing.
probably the problem. They counted on the weather changing, and
So
they were going to get the
they've
rye
got-
in,
they've got
and the
rye
rye
grass
hasn't
and the
come
rye
in.
hasn't taken.
And
The
so
rye
they've
grass
got-
hasn't taken.
They've got, yeah, that's bad. And I don't understand. Are you guys noticing that the paint is like thin? Like it's not solid. Like look at the yard markers and
Cutting corners,
everything.
man.
The
They're
grass
cutting
is cut so
corners.
short because it hasn't all
Is that
season
it?
long. The grass has not
Okay.
been flush enough.
Like I'm
The-
seeing green through the white. I don't
Yeah.
understand that.
know.
I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
so bad.
Well, I hope that we have a good showing. I hope that the Sooners bring it. I hope that they give us a glimpse of hope and give the offense something to just kind of bite on to say, look, you guys can put it together. You can be productive. You can finish this season strong and for pride, if nothing else, and chase that elusive 6th win for the bowl
I
eligibility.
do want to say one thing about the hype man and stuff.
Okay.
Well, I know we've all
Are
complained
you
about
going to
this
defend
several
that guy?
times. Oh, absolutely
Okay,
not.
Okay.
Please
No,
don't.
I was sitting next to a lady who her and her husband flew in from Tennessee,
Okay.
and
But they're OU fans.
they're OU fans.
Okay.
And they hadn't been to a game for several years, but she specifically could not believe how annoying and awful and how loud the whole intermission was of every aspect of the football.
It's awful.
It is so bad.
They're trying to be the NBA. That's what happened.
It's awful. And that's what happens
And,
when you
and
get
Malcolm's the
NBA.
NBA guy too. I
It
think,
makes
isn't he?
you-
Yeah,
He's
he
the
was.
Thunder guy.
It almost makes you not want to go. It's that bad.
The
Oh,
speakers.
Especially
absolutely.
in because they don't read the room at all.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell Plank when he gave his second scoreboard update or whatever. in
Right.
the early fourth quarter, whenever he does that one, he was like, "Boomer."
But like, you're losing to South Carolina and it sucks. And your season's probably over.
It's 21-0. Let's kick a
And it's-
Chick-fil-A field goal.
And it's 3 times as loud as any other thing in the entire stadium.
And I understand they've got to kick the Chick-fil-A. You got to do your sponsor stuff, but there's a way to do it that isn't so tone deaf to what's going on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not that guy's fault.
No, it's not entirely his fault.
As much as he sucks,
It's-
because he sucks.
He's doing his job.
But what
It's
what I want to know is who in the administration or who has gone to the people in the administration and was like, this is going
the
great.
same person
Let's
that
keep this
said
up."
we should play the mother effing same Toby
Same
Keith
Toby,
song
yeah.
at the end of the third quarter every single
It's
week.
so
Yeah,
bullshit.
for you guys, that's not going away.
Well-
They think that they're doing Inner Sandman or Jump Around at Wisconsin or
Which tells you
That's what they
everything
think
you
they're-
need to
That's
know about
exactly
how
what Jay said.
disconnected
There's
they are.
no reading of the room. I would rather hear like some nasty freaking like Lil Uzi or some stupid stuff that I would never want my kids to hear ever.
Oh, I don't want them to hear that song. Don't
And
get me started on
I'm
that
just
song.
like, hey guys, at least the players are getting pumped up. Like at least it's kind of cool for them.
Well, I saw
they're trying to
somebody.
get him to put a boot in the ass. I don't know what you guys are
I
complaining
saw.
about.
I
I
wanted
saw
to stand up
somebody
and say, are they aware Osama bin Laden won?
Yeah.
We lost Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Like he
okay.
literally won.
Yeah,
like
somebody-
100%.
he did everything that they said that we were going to
We're
do.
losing to South Carolina, and somebody's like, "Well, this seems fitting that they put a 9/11 song for this."
But you know what's funny is it's not a 9/11
No, but
song
you know,
as much as an Iraq
It's still
song.
funny though.
It's like here where are we going to talk about weapons of mass destruction that don't exist?
It's just.
That's kind of the OU offense.
And so the very first time it happened, right? People were excited for it.
The
Sure.
first time it
fun.
was fun.
Okay.
It was a tribute to
It was
Toby.
a.
And that's all it should be. Is a
Lifelong
tribute.
Sooner fan.
It should be a tribute.
Did the guy
It
have more
should
than
not
one
be
song?
a live
Yes, he
thing.
did.
Yes.
It went down.
But it shouldn't be more than that.
It's gone down 20% fan participation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what? I might boo this week.
And tomorrow, I
I
don't
might
even
do-
know if anyone sings.
I might
There'll
do-
be
you know,
8 people
What's
that
funny
sing.
is the opposing
Or
fans.
Saturday.
The last game was South Carolina, and there were some South Carolina people in my section because there's terrible OU fans selling their seats. But they got their phones out and they were like, "This is awesome!" And they're like singing along with the song. Tennessee fans did the same thing.
Yeah.
because they
Tennessee
were
fan-
beating
It-
our ass.
But it's also their first.
Yeah, I
time.
would have danced to anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I was like, Tennessee, third down for what? When we
Ah.
started winning the game? Yeah, play third down for what? Please do. 90% of that game, I was like, F this sucks. But I'm gonna boo Saturday. I'm mark
That's
it down.
un-American. It's unpatriotic.
Nope, Steve can take a video.
Yep.
That'll be the non-homer take of the day. I'm gonna boo the Toby Keith
I
song.
mean, you don't
and
think it's a
I
financial
will
thing, do
probably
you?
get yelled
You
at.
think we paid X amount of dollars to play this one song and
Well,
we don't want to pay for other songs?
Toby Keith's
That could be.
estate
No, oh,
is-
that would be right on brand
Toby
for
Keith's
OU.
estate is probably paying something for us to play that week in and week out.
I doubt it. I don't know.
No.
I bet they did pay for it, and I could see them thinking we're not going to pay for the rights to a different song.
I bet they
Bullshit.
didn't pay for the rights because it is Toby. I don't think his
Maybe.
estate. I think they just said,
Uh,
yes, you guys are allowed to
I don't
play this
know. In the
song
real
every
world,
game.
I bet they paid for the rights.
Is Red Solo Cup just too controversial versus
Red
the
Solo- they already
Song?
played it.
Awful to
They already
have
played it.
Red
They already-
Solo Cup game.
They have the game, yeah.
And they
did Red
do it
Solo-
like twice.
See, I think that'd be bad because it's not a get up and let's rock and roll. Like this game would be a Red Solo Cup because we better be winning third quarter going into the fourth, where you're just like, yes, let's party. I don't care. Play a song that is just like celebratory and it's over. But if you want to rise to the occasion, get your heart thumping, we need your effort as a fan base and everyone else into this fourth quarter. It's fading on this deal.
What are our mascots out there aside from the ponies pool and the schooner? We've got two horses
The
in
pig horses?
mascot
Yeah.
uniforms. Toby has a song called "Beer for My Horses." Why aren't they playing that song?
And giving
that
those
song
horses
makes sense.
beer.
Yeah,
One of
they
our,
could be over there holding their Bud Light sponsorship or whoever the stadium sponsor is, and you see the pig horses
The
out
schooner
there
beer.
doing this up there. Yeah, beer for my horses, and then they pretend like they're drinking. People will be like, "Yeah, beer for my horses."
That would promote drinking.
You
to
can't
young
show
kids.
that. Yeah,
one
You
of
gotta
our
look-
one
you
of
gotta
our
look over
horse
at your dad
mascots
and look
is
for that promotion.
drastically overweight. So I don't know. I actually don't know if they go past the second quarter
They were doing the
because
palm
they are
dances.
probably exhausted. One of them.
I don't like the fact that the palm is in the south end zone now. That's irritating.
Nobody in the north side appreciates that.
there are just a lot of things that are not going right and not SEC ready, and it's embarrassing. It's
Our
frustrating.
admin is bullshit.
They need to change a lot of stuff.
And again, this is not just because we're losing games. It's horrendous. No matter. I don't care if we were beating Bama by 30.
It's embarrassing.
The stuff we do
It's
in
embarrassing.
intermissions.
I
it's
talk to a
horrendous.
large diversity of fans that are at all walks of life, and all of them are unanimous in not liking any of this. And all of them have been complaining win and lose. It's not about the fact that we're losing, but I think they write everything off when they send the survey, which they didn't send last week or after the South Carolina game. But when they send the survey, they always say, regardless of the team's performance on the field or whatever, how do you feel about these things? I still think they're saying, well, they're mad just because we lost. No, we're not. We're mad because it sucks.
I always
Not
write
doing
in
a
there,
good
the
job.
speakers are too loud.
I do
The
too.
sound system is so loud.
Just for that part.
I mean, for any of it,
For any of it. The
it's
constant,
entirely too loud.
yes, it's just, it's awful.
And I know how open air stadiums work. It's not an
Right.
arena, but it's still, I'm as far away from the speakers as you could possibly be in the stadium because it's at the top of the south end zone and I'm at the very last seat in
And
the
you
north
can't
end zone.
turn to,
And it's too loud.
you
And
cannot turn to your dad
Nope,
and have
you
a
can't talk.
conversation.
Nope.
You can't talk.
Well, and like it's not that job is so it's so easy.
It's not hard.
Like all you have to do is go down to the concourse for an hour and do a straw poll on
Mhm.
all of these subjects, and you're probably going to get a pretty consistent answer across the board. And be like, actually, we're probably not doing this right.
Right.
Like it's not difficult, and that's what all this is about. It's all fan experience, or what it's supposed to be about. It's all supposed to be about fan experience, and it's all ignored.
Right.
All of it is
Well,
ignored.
here's why we care. We go to the games. We go to all the games.
And they wonder why people sit at home and watch games.
Exactly. I
Because
talk to them
they
and
don't
they
have
say,
to
I
hear
don't want to
that
hear that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to have all the experience, like the fan experience. Oh my God.
And it lasts
Mm.
like it's the longest 3 minutes on TV timeout.
Oh, it's so,
because
it's so painful.
you're just inundated.
I would
Yes.
just
constant
rather have
noise.
like just like
Let the
dead
band,
silence.
let the band play. It's
Chill.
college. Let the band
Yes,
play.
I'd rather have silence,
Yeah.
but if you have to have noise, just play some sort of just
No,
intermission
let the band
song.
play.
Or let
They
the-
love playing. They're
They
great.
love playing.
Let the band play.
They're not.
They practice a long time.
They
They
trust me, I
try. They
hear them.
try really hard.
No,
Um,
honestly, I bet if you
seriously.
were to ask them, they would say we're irritated and we play so much during OU's offense because we don't get to play. They let them play during the timeouts. Let them. That's the college experience, right? That's
Do
what
Boomer
it's supposed to
Shinner
be.
during timeouts. Like get
Whatever song you want to work on, I
Something.
guarantee you, these guys are all studying music. They want to play
But
music.
like, but
They'd run through a whole repertoire.
But what's the point? What is the thought process behind the football stopped? We have 3 minutes before the football starts. Every single second has to be filled with noise.
A lot of noise.
Every
It's the NBA
single
model, I'm telling you.
second.
They're worried that we're gonna like disengage. Like,
And you know
well,
what? Leave?
I guess the game's over. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah,
If anything, if I'm going to leave, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not sticking around for another sandblaster of my ears. I'm getting out of here. And I think maybe it can't help the fact that we do have people leaving. I don't know. they've got to get better. All of that has to get better because we know to win in the SEC, you've got to have a great atmosphere and you've got to have your fans helping. When we talk about how difficult it is to win on the road in the SEC, it's because those fans are engaged and they're making it a hostile environment for the opponent. We don't have time to make it a hostile environment because we're too busy in our own hostile environment getting terrorized by the sound
Yeah, we got
machine.
friendly fire going.
I'm wiping the blood out of my ears.
Exactly.
Instead of being
No,
able
they
to
want
cheer
you-
on third down.
They want you to yell when your team's out there, but to talk to your friend next to you, you've got to yell for 3 minutes during.
Yeah, I'm out of breath and I've lost my voice because I was just trying to talk about how bad our offense was
Yeah.
in the timeout.
Yeah, and we're getting your ass.
Well, let's run through some scores. I got mine first. I'm going to go 56, very close to our average, 55 margin of victory, 56-0. We do not let the Bears find the end zone or the field goal. Whatever, find a field goal.
I got 45-6.
Missed extra point or 2 field goals
2 field goals.
or 3 safeties.
Shit, it's 3 safeties. We ain't getting 45 points.
And you're not going to get your 2.5. Oh, you said over.
I have 42-7, I believe.
Right at the line, but making it.
Current line.
Current line. Yeah, before the real line comes up.
I'll go 45-3.
That's a very respectable score. I think those they definitely reflect where we are because if we were in the season we thought we were going to have, we'd be in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s, right?
63-7.
63,
Like,
60,
like you'd be saying 63-3 and I'd be giving you a hard time. Like, how do you think we're not going to be better than that? It reflects also though with the 34.5 point line, assuming that's a decent number, it reflects the fact that we're holding them to a higher standard and we expect more out of this, even given everything that we've endured and where we are. 8-4 may be a very, very big long shot, but they still need to show improvement. They still need to show that they can challenge for the bowl game and challenge and hopefully make it a competitive game against Alabama
You're gonna put
and
USC
against
in the bowl
LSU, much less Missouri and Maine.
Some of
obviously.
mine's weather involved.
I think we're mutters. I think we're going to do good in the slot.
Well, I
we're
just
gonna
think
chew
it's
it up.
gonna be like I don't.
There
you
won't
know,
be enough traction on that field to chew it.
as
chew
much as
anything
we want to throw
up,
it
except our cleats.
more and all this other stuff, I think
Yeah, don't have any juke routes, or you're going to be on your ground.
This is really a side topic. Can you imagine how fun it would have been to have done this podcast in 2008?
Oh,
Predicting scores.
it would have been very difficult.
5 games
Like,
in a row.
oh, we're
65
gonna
plus,
score
whatever.
60 this week, guys.
Can we get it? I think
How
we
many
can
we
do
gonna
it.
give up?
I think we're going to do it.
Oh, it'd been incredible.
Where we should be versus where we are.
I don't know. The Florida post game would have been crushing.
That would have been tough. Well,
That had a lot of hits though. That would have been a big podcast.
I don't know. We'll be here with the post game. We're gonna be breaking down what we saw against Maine.
We're all going to the game.
We're all going to the game. Thanks to Dr. K and everything that he's got. Everything that he brings. Hopefully the Sooners can make him proud, and
Happy Halloween.
happy Halloween, everybody. Until then, Boomer.
Sooner.